In this video, I'm going to do a product review of the new LetPot Air. This is a hydroponic system for growing vegetables and herbs and flowers. The Air is a newer one. It's a lower end product. There are other units. One called Senior is a little bit larger than this. And then there's the Max, which is larger still, and the Max is more automated. But one of the benefits of the Air unit is that it's a very low-cost unit, and I think it's an ideal product for getting into hydroponics and giving the whole thing a test to see if you really like it. Then once you're familiar with the system and you're using it, then you can scale up to a larger unit. I think this is a great product for the new grower. How would you like to win a free LetPot Air unit? Well, now's your chance. I've arranged with LetPot to have a special draw for 2 free Air units. And the draw for that will take place October 1st, 2024. Now, if you don't win the free units, you can still get 10% off by ordering through Amazon and using a special discount code that I've arranged with LetPot. Both of these offers are available to anyone in Canada and the US. For details of how to get the free units, have a look in the description below. You'll also find information about the discount code so that you can get 10% off. I'd also like to invite you to join the LetPot Facebook group, and you'll also find a link for that in the description below. Now let's have a closer look at the LetPot Air hydroponic unit. When I got the unit, I decided to try some lettuce in it. They're one of the easiest vegetables to grow hydroponically, and I've grown them in several different units, and so I could compare how that went. And here's my results. Germination was really good, growth was excellent, and in about 4 weeks, I had these nice heads of lettuce to enjoy for dinner. What I'd like to do in this video is split it into 2 parts. In part 1, I'm going to quickly go through my 12-point checklist for hydroponic units. And I've made a separate video on that, and I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. And then in part 2, I'll show you the unit in more detail. So here goes. Here's my 12-point checklist. The manufacturer should provide the PPFD. That's the intensity of light coming out of the unit. LetPot doesn't do that, and quite honestly, none of the manufacturers of these type of units do that. Although manufacturers of LED lights do, and it's considered an important requirement there. Now, one thing that LetPot does do with this unit, it actually gives you the spectra, and that's a big improvement in the information that's available. Number 2, does it have a veg and bloom mode? And the Air unit does have that. Number 3, is it supplied with seeds and fertilizer? You need those to get started, so it's really nice if they come in the package. Now, the LetPot units do come with fertilizer, but they don't provide any seeds, so you'll have to get those separately. Does it have a pump to move water? Yes. Does it have enough holes to grow plants? And the answer there is yes. The sponges that are used are replaceable items, and so you're going to have to buy those as you use them up. So are those sponges easily available? And the answer there is yes. You can get them both from LetPot and from third parties. How large are the pods? Shorter is actually better. You don't need large pods. Makes it easier for the roots to get down to the liquid. And in this case, we have a medium-sized pod, so that's okay. What about the size of the unit? Well, this Air unit is a bit on the small side. But remember, it's targeted for people who are just starting out, and I think for that it's a good size unit. Then once you're interested in doing hydroponics, you want to grow more plants, you can always upgrade to a larger unit, and LetPot has those available. But if you're going out and buying a unit and you can afford them and you're sure you want one of these units, bigger is always better. Does it have a removable light? And the Air unit does have that. We'll have a close look at that. What about the extra holes on top for plants that are not being used? Well, the Air unit does come with caps for those, so that's a good thing. Is there an app to control this unit? Now, that's not really a requirement, but it can be handy, and as you'll see as we go through this demonstration, in this case, it does give you some nice features. And last, does it have a lot of automation? And the Air unit doesn't really have a lot of automation, although the pump is a little more automated than on some units. If you want automation, you're going to have to pay more. Remember that the Air is a lower cost unit, and so you don't get a lot of automation with that. If you do want more automation, you can always get their Max system, and that has more automation than any hydroponic system I've seen. So that's my 12-point checklist. The Air Garden does check most of those, and it's a pretty good unit. So let's have a closer look at this unit. Let's start with the back of the unit. This unit uses a different type of stand for the light, and I'll pull this out in a minute so you can have a look at it. There are two connections at the back. One is for your power supply, and the second one is for the pump. And the wire for the pump goes around the top and inside to the pump here. One of the improvements of this unit is that the stand can now be taken off of the unit. And to do that, you just pull it out. You can see that the wire to the pump is still attached here. If you take that off, you can now take the light completely away. Now I think that's really important, because if you want to clean this, you really don't want the light attached. So this is a big improvement over some of the other units that they have. To raise and lower the light, you simply press this knob here, but you do have to hold on to it so it doesn't fall down on you. The range of this light is pretty good. It's about 17 inches. Their senior unit will go a little higher, and extra height is really valuable if you're growing things like tomatoes or larger plants. I think this unit is ideal for growing things like lettuces and any of the greeny leaves, for herbs or smaller plants, and a lot of flowers could be done in this unit. If I wanted to grow tomatoes, I really would go for a larger unit. You need more space and you need more height for tomatoes. The base unit is fairly simple, has a pump here, and the pump has a cover on it to protect it, and some sponges to keep the dirt out of the pump. One of the nice features of this unit is that the pump has a low level alarm. So when the water gets too low, the alarm will sound. The way this actually works is that the pump monitors how fast it's pumping. And if it starts pumping too slow, the alarm sounds. Two things can cause that. One is that if you get a lot of debris or plant roots in the sponges, it will stop and give you the alarm. And the second one is if it doesn't have enough water. Now we can mimic that by turning on the unit, turning on the pump. So that was the alarm, and the pump turned itself off. That protects the pump from running dry, and that's a really nice feature of this unit. To clean the sponges, you take the top off, and you do that by releasing one of these side clips, pulling the cap off, and then the sponges come out and you can clean out any roots that you find in there. Simply put the cap back on and you're back in business. Now you can control the unit in one of two ways. You can use the app, which I'll show you in a few minutes, or you can use the controls on top. And they're pretty straightforward. You have an on-off control. If we turn it on, the lights come on, the pump is coming on. That was a warning signal because there's no liquid in here, so the pump is shut off. I can also control the brightness, and there's two modes. There's high and low. The low level is recommended for starting your seeds, and then once the seedlings are growing, you switch to high. To be honest with you, you can just leave it on high and put the light a little higher for your seedlings. There's also a veg and bloom mode. The difference between veg and bloom is that in veg mode, you have blue light in addition to the red. But in bloom, they turn the blue off and you only get the red. Now, personally, I'd always run it in veg mode, even if you're trying to bloom something. The light intensity of these units is pretty good, but it's not really high. And you need to get as much light from these units as you can. That'll make your plants grow better. So I would always run it in blue mode. That way you get both red and blue light. One of the nice features of this unit is that it actually shows you what the spectra looks like. And if we have a look at that, you'll see that we get a spike in the blue range and a nice spike in the red range, and that's what you want. That's how plants grow well. But it's also important to have a spike in the infrared, and that's down in the 730 nanometer range. And this unit actually has LED lights in that range. And that's a really nice feature. Now let me try a little experiment here. I'm going to turn the power off, and then I'll turn it back on, and I want to see if you can hear the pump. Now I've tested a number of these hydroponic systems, and this is the quietest pump of any of them. In fact, when I first turned on the unit, I didn't think the pump was working because it's so quiet. The unit also comes with all the accessories that you'd want. It's very important you get some fertilizer with it to get you started. And they have these nice combination here, A, B. You put some water in these, dilute them up, and then you mix these to make your fertilizer solutions. These are the little holders for the pods. They go in here. The pods have little holes in the top. You put your seeds in there. And then there's some paper discs to put on top. What these paper discs do is they keep the light off the sponge. If too much light gets down to this wet sponge, then this develops algae. Now once the plant is larger, that's not an issue, but it can become an issue for smaller plants or for seedlings. So it's not a bad idea to use these. It also comes with some labels, which I think are kind of silly. Just put some tape on. And besides, you'll know what a lettuce plant looks like anyways. And these are some rods to put in and tie your plants to them. You don't need that for the lettuce, but it does work well for tomato plants, and it also works well for some of the herbs. Now let's have a look at the LetPot app. You can get it from your favorite app store, and it's perfectly free. So download it onto your phone or tablet, and you'll be ready to start. Now it's important to understand something about this app. It's almost a necessity to use it. If you go to the air unit, you can turn it on, you can turn the pump on and off, you can turn the light level up and down. But the one thing you can't do on the unit is to put in a time when you want the lights to turn on and turn off. That can only be set on the app. There is an upside to this. On older units that didn't use the app, and in fact on most competitive units that don't have an app, you actually set the start time, the turn off time right on the unit. The problem is that if there's a power failure, or you unplug the unit to move it around or to go and wash it out, it loses that information. And so then you have to come back in and reset it on the unit. The advantage of the app is that once you set the start and end time on the app will update the unit the next time you turn it on. So you no longer have this problem with power failures, and that's a pretty nice feature. Now let's have a look at the app itself. The app and unit combination uses two types of communication. It needs to connect to Wi-Fi, and the app itself needs to communicate with the unit through Bluetooth. So make sure that you have Bluetooth turned on your phone. The first time you come into the app, it will look like this, except you won't see any devices here. What you'll have to do is to add a device with this button. This will go out and communicate with the device itself and connect to your Wi-Fi and get all of that set up. The first time I did this, it worked fine. It was very easy to set up. Later on, I took the whole system apart to make this video, and then I put it all back together again, and the app had trouble finding the unit. If you have that kind of a problem, the trick is to delete this unit. Take it out of the app altogether so you see no units here, and then re-add the device. If you do it that way, it works fairly well. So let's go ahead and look at my device here. You can see that it connected with Wi-Fi, shows you the device, and gives you this summary bit of information. The last time I set this up was 4 days ago. And so it's telling me how long this program has been running. It tells me that the lighting is on for 16 hours a day, and the pump is on and resetting itself. This bottom piece here allows me to turn the power on the unit on and off. It's a pretty straightforward app. To see the other settings, you just scroll this up. So below power, we have the time, and I can go and set a new schedule. So right now it's set to start at 7 o'clock and turn off at 2300. If I wanted to, for example, turn off an hour sooner, I just move these numbers down until I have the right number in this space here. But I'll just leave it the way it was, so I'll cancel out. I can select between veg mode and herb mode. The difference in these two modes is that the veg mode has the blue light on, and I prefer to run everything in that. I don't really see a need to go back and forth between these two. I prefer to have as much blue and red light as possible. So that's why I've selected the veg mode. My brightness is set to high. I have my circulating pump on, so it's going to come on for a few minutes every 30 minutes. And then I've also turned on my alarm system. So if the liquid goes too low and the pump can't pump fast enough, then the alarm will sound. It's a good idea to leave that on. And that's really all there is to the setup. Once you've got this set, the unit will power on automatically, and it's controlled by the settings in the app now. And to be honest, once you've got the app set up, it's easier to control things from inside the app than it is from right on the unit. If you have more than one device, then you'll actually see a list here of the different devices that you have, and you can use the one install of the app to control all of them. And you simply select the one you want to look at and go and change its setting. That's it. It's a pretty simple app. So what is my overall impression of this unit? Well, I think it's a really good deal. Now, the list price on Amazon is $90 US, but it's on sale right now for $70, and I've put an Amazon link in the description below to make it easy for you to find this product. I think that if you're growing lettuce or some greens or some simple flowers, this would be a great unit. I think if you're starting out in hydroponics and you just want to give it a try, it's also a really good buy. There are very few products under $100, and LetPot is a well-known manufacturer, so this is a good deal. Now, if you're serious about hydroponics, I like a bigger unit. And if I'm growing tomatoes, I want a bigger unit. I want a larger surface area. I want a larger light system. And then I'd upgrade to the max unit. Now, if you want to know about the max unit, I'll put a link to that right here. And if you want details about my 12-point checklist for hydroponics, have a look up here. Happy gardening.